So let me throw another idea at you. So I've been doing a lot of writing and thinking about the biblical stories, well, for a very long time and very intensely recently. And I've spent many, many hundreds of hours, I suppose, thinking about the story of Cain and Abel, which is a story that never ceases to terrify me right to my core. And what you see in that story is the story of two principalities making themselves manifest in some way for the first time, right? So you have Abel, who makes the proper sacrifices, who dedicates himself to God, who looks upward and does what's actually necessary and true and reaps the benefit as a consequence. And then you have Cain, who, he's not so much into the sacrifice thing, and his sacrifices are second rate, and he's trying to pull the wool over the eyes of God, and that doesn't work out very well. And so then he calls God on God's misbehavior and says to him, I don't know what sort of cosmos you think you've hacked together here, but I'm busting myself in pieces and all I get is misery. Why don't you straighten yourself up? And God says, well, if you did things properly, things would probably go okay for you. And that makes Cain murderously angry and envious and resentful and bitter and cynical. And so then he goes and kills Abel. And I think that's exactly what's happening today, is that what we point to as Marxism is just the most recent rational manifestation of the eternal spirit of Cain. And what do you think of that? I mean, you're a religious thinker. Do you think that's accurate?
I think you're a pretty sharp cookie. I think you're ready to go professional. Honestly, that's a wonderful.
All in, man, all in.
No, but I mean that's a wonderful exegesis. I had never thought of that really, but it seems to me dead on, and I think that
it only took me 40 years to think it through.
Yes, well, but the thing is, what you just said. I don't remember your phrasing, but it's the same thing over and over and over again. In other words, we're talking about human nature, right? And in fact, you see this happen even earlier in Scripture than Cain and Abel, when Adam and Eve make for themselves aprons of fig leaves, right? In other words, that's the first religious act. Religious in the negative sense. Let's fool God. We know something's wrong, okay? So all human beings throughout history have known something is wrong. How do we address it? Well, that's what religion is, right? We say that there's this gulf between us and the gods. There's this break. How do we deal with that? Well, that's what religions purport to do, to somehow repair the breach or to climb the ladder from here to there. We know we're not there. We need to get there to heaven, to someplace other than here. How do we do that? How do we appease the gods? How do we lure the gods into coming to our aid? That's what religion is. And in our hearts, we often do it in a way that there's deception. In other words, it's like, well, how do I fool God? Adam and Eve say we're going to cover our nakedness with fig leaves. Now,
which apparently aren't a very good covering. I talked to Matthew Pajot about that, and fig leaves turn out to be not exactly the sort of leaf that anyone with any sense would ever use to cover themselves. So it's a pathetic attempt as well as a deceptive attempt.
Well, I didn't know that, nor is it relevant. But since it's your show, we're going to let that ride. Let me tell you why the fig leaves are insufficient.
The holidays are rapidly approaching, but we can find peace and calm in the craziness of the season with Hallow, the #1 Christian prayer app in the world. Immerse yourself in Christmas in Advent prayers, meditations, and peaceful Christmas music. Hallow also offers an extensive library of Bible reading plans accompanied by insightful reflections and audio-guided meditations. Whether you're a seasoned Bible reader or just starting your journey, Hallow provides a platform for you to engage with Scripture like never before. A great place to start is with Father Mike Schmitz's Bible in a Year, in which he offers brief daily readings and reflections available on the Hallow app. The Hallow app also helps you connect with a community of like-minded individuals sharing experiences, insights, and encouragement along the path to spiritual growth. This Christmas, join Hallow's Christmas Prayer Challenge, Advent with C.S. Lewis. For the 25 days leading up to Christmas, you can focus on the real reason for the season with prayer, meditation, and Christmas music on Hallow. Download the app for free at hallow.com/Jordan for 3 months free. That's hallow.com/Jordan.
God then, this is just an amazing thing. You've probably seen this, but I'm fascinated by this, that in the first few verses of Genesis, it shows Adam and Eve doing something to sort of fool God. They know something is wrong. Because for the first time, of course, something is wrong. They're no longer walking with God, and they've broken the relationship with God. And they try to do something about it. And God deems what they have done insufficient, and it says he makes for them animal skins. In other words, blood had to be shed. Innocent animals had to be killed, and blood had to be shed in order that they could be covered, which is, of course, a prefiguring of the sacrifice and the death of Jesus. Blood has to be shed. You think you can cover these mistakes on your own with these little religious acts and things, and God says, no, you don't understand the depth of the horror. Blood, innocent blood has to be shed to cover what you have done. And of course, when you refer to Cain and Abel, it's the same kind of thing. I'm trying to do this and this, and God says, no, this is what's required.
Right, it has to be a real sacrifice. That's Abel's sacrifices, right? And there are also sacrifices that involve blood, as opposed.
So imagine where we are
Cain's.
today, that you have people. They've effectively created a false religion, which is particularly horrifying and wicked. It's almost like we're seeing it now with the sheer lunacy of the pride juggernaut, that everybody has to be bullied into agreeing with whatever it is, and
not agreeing, but celebrating and worshiping.
Yeah,
it's way more than just agreeing.
If you don't say Heil Hitler loud enough, people will look at you funny. Why you seem to say Heil Hitler with some trepidation? Perhaps you don't like the Fuhrer. In other words, if you don't heartily express your enthusiasm and approval of X, Y, and Z, people look at you funny. And so if you don't have any connection to God or to truth or to reality, then you look around and go, oh, what do I need to do so that people won't look at me funny, so that I might not lose my job or lose my friends? What do I need to do? What do I need to post on social media? How do I need to outperform
What do I
other
have
people?
to not say?
And so that's, again, you see this all through history. But the reason I wrote Letter to the American Church is because it's my thesis that Christians have no excuse in this. You claim to believe in the ground of all being. You claim to believe in the God of the Bible, that he, not just died for you, but literally bodily rose from the dead and defeated death. If you believe that, which you claim to, you will behave differently. You will behave fearlessly, as martyrs and others have throughout the centuries. That's what's required of us. And we've been kind of drifting along with everything, pretty fine. We kind of thought like, well, we don't actually have to give our lives or maybe lose our jobs or whatever. You have a lot of pastors, to put this even more pointedly, who they're worried about maybe losing their 501c3 tax deductible status by saying something vaguely political from the pulpit. And I thought, what kind of cowards can you be? You're supposed to be speaking truth. You're supposed to care about people out there, not just in your congregation, but out there in the world, so that if you were alive in slavery times, you would be speaking against this satanic abomination of the slave trade, as Wilberforce did, and against slavery, as people did. And when people say, oh, you're being political, just stick to theology, you'd say, excuse me, what kind of theology do I have? What kind of gospel am I preaching if I don't care about people who are suffering horrors, if I'm silent?